Good afternoon. We're back at it again for another Network and Chill. I am your host, Chris Red, joined by my co-host, Ricky E. Mason.
And so, what's up, Network and Chill family? So glad to be back with y'all again and just hanging out. For those of you that have been here, you all know what this is all about. But for those of you that are new to Network and Chill, Network and Chill is a community, an inclusive community for founders, angels, entrepreneurs, and founders, anyone looking to support the community and the growth of people in this community. We're looking to share, educate, and just storytell and help founders and angels connect through that storytelling and sharing of education. Um, yeah, so Chris, like it's almost what 2 years since we started doing this.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man. Coming up on 2 years, really a month from today, July 23rd, will be our 2 years celebrating just the work we've been putting together and the community that we've been growing. I'm excited, really, man, as we come out this pandemic and doing these virtual style events that have some kind of small celebration in person to really celebrate the community that we've been building.
Yeah, man. And so there'll be more on that. So stay tuned for more on the celebration of the Network and Chill 2 year anniversary. Um, but without further ado, let's get back into what we came here for. Part two of the Network and Chill, the Future of Ag Tech series. So today we're going to be talking about big ag and the USDA's role in urban agriculture.
These are citing lessons from learned from the COVID-19 pandemic and recent supply chain disruptions. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced plans to invest more than $4 billion to strengthen critical supply chains through the Build Back Better initiative. The new effort will strengthen the food system, create new market opportunities, tackle the climate crisis, help communities that have been left behind, and support good paying jobs throughout the supply chain.
With more than 80% of the US population living in or near urban centers, urban agriculture will play a significant role in the security and sustainability of our food system now and for the future.
With that being said, I love to introduce. We're joined by two great panelists. First, we have actually two UK grads. First, we have Sylvester,
Shout out to it.
Big Cat Miller II. He's a 2008 graduate from the University of Kentucky, where he studied within the College of Agriculture, Food and Environment with a bachelor's in Science and Agricultural Economics. He was a member of the football team there as well, a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and the Prince Hall affiliate Freemasons. I mean, your backgrounds that I can go on and on with some of the boards you sat on, from the agricultural professionals, being an agricultural professional of the year, an outstanding agriculture VIP as well. So we're pleased to have you. I love to dive in further in your background as well as we start the panel. But also, I want to introduce Ed Thompson, who has 33 years experience at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. He's also a graduate of the University of Kentucky. He grew up in Georgetown, Kentucky, and has been around agriculture more than most of his life. He has maintained two different roles over at the USDA. One being, really around conservation service and natural resources conservation for over 22 years, and most recently over the last 11 years, helping really being in the office of the USDA partnerships and public engagement. So thank you both for joining us today. We really are glad to have you. And as we just jumped into it, I guess some brief backgrounds, but I would love to really open it up for you all to be able to share your own backgrounds, really segue, what got you into agriculture and a lot of the things you work on today.
I say, hey, you want me to go or you go first?
I yield to you.
All right, then. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone, Network and Chill. Thanks for allowing me to join you all today. It's always great to get a chance to talk about agriculture, especially as being different platforms as possible. So the question was, what really brought me to agriculture? And that's a very good one. I mean, from my background being kind of an inner city kid inside Chicago to now being out inside the rural areas of Memphis, I inside Somerville, Tennessee. So when I really look at what really drew me to agriculture is, sad but true, hard but fair. Agriculture has been inside my family from the beginning. My family, we've actually farmed in Helena, Arkansas since our day of emancipation. So having this right at the June 10th day and finding out, when we was finally free from slavery, free-ish, or whatever term you want to use, my family, we started farming in Helena, Arkansas when my dad grew up on a farm. He ended up leaving the farm around the time in which he married my mom, but always agriculture was always very close and dear to our family. And we actually own farmland up inside Buchanan, Michigan, where we ended up purchasing some farmland once my dad retired. We still farm here down in Helena, Arkansas, so I do get a chance to make it to the family farm, but that was kind of what really made me and pulled me back to agriculture. Now, the way in which I did make my way there, first came to University of Kentucky back in 99 as a college athlete. And for those that may have been a college athlete around athletics, it's kind of hard to find a degree that works well with your practice schedule. So we're working with my advisors over there, Barb Dennison with UK Athletics, Dr. Mathers inside the College of Agriculture, and then even Dr. Quentin Tyler, one of my fraternity brothers, but also was big there at University of Kentucky Special Ed Manners. He kind of helped guide me over to the College of Ag. And one thing, I was originally an engineering major, then came over to College of Ag, and my life has been pretty good. One thing that you find out about agriculture, those that work in it, everyone seems to be have some very grassroots upbringings. Seems to be one of those industries in which if you are a person of not good character, it's found out very quickly. You don't make inside ag that long. And really, when you look at agriculture, I mean, we are the world's largest economy. I mean, one of the main things that was always told to me, people are always going to smoke, drink, and eat. Agriculture is those three things. I mean, we're supplying fuel, fiber, and food to the world, and we have the smallest amount of people. I mean, as we look at every year, there is a employment deficit inside agriculture, and those that have the ability to be able to meet the needs and requests of human power that we need to be able to help drive this economy. So for any of those that are listening that may not have made a decision on their college career or where they want to do long term, should look at your College of Agriculture and try to find some way to connect into this industry, because we are an industry that's in dire need of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as that's a big initiative here, but also all the technology. So from those that get an ag degree to those that get engineering degrees, even from some companies that need nurses and doctors helping run studies. So really, when you look at agriculture, I mean, everything that you look at inside other industries we have here, we have accountants, CPAs, finance managers, everything across the board. So for those that may be not looking at agriculture because they don't have a degree out of the College of Ag, just know it is probably a place for you here within the private and public sector of agriculture.
Yep. And I echo that, like coming from engineering, working at the CIA to agriculture, like people are like, why did you do that? How did that happen? And I just found so much opportunity and love for the opportunity to grow food, but also involve technology and use those skills in that arena.
Yeah, fully agree with that. And small world, Sylvester, we have to talk later about this, but my mom and my dad are from Helena, Arkansas originally, and grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, okay, that was like, you don't hear that too often. So
yeah.
All right, Ed, I'll pass it to you.
I'd like to thank Network and Chill for allowing me to be on this panel. Also, I'd like to get to know Sylvester a little more. I'm the old guy on the show. I graduated from the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture with a degree in agronomy in 1992. I basically been in agriculture all my life. When I say that, from my family's history, I currently live on my family farm. This land has been in my family since deeded date of 1873. I'm the fourth or fifth generation that have owned this land. When I say I've been in agriculture all my life, I've had one other job. I worked at Cargill Fertilizer, which is an agricultural industry, for 3 months. That's how long it took for federal government to get my paperwork processed. But I've worked with the U.S. Department of Agriculture since the age of 17 when I was in high school as a WAE or work assistance employee. I guess you could say that I was discovered by the local USDA district conservationists at that time with Soil Conservation Service. And of course, that agency took on a name change of the Natural Resources Conservation Service. My background with my family farm, I was always involved in beef cattle production, and I was involved traditionally in raising beef cattle. And then I also took, at that time, we called it vocational agriculture in high school. So I was a member of the FFA, Scott County FFA chapter. I went from committee chairpersons to the office of chapter president. And I'm going to bring this a little bit different circle from an agricultural standpoint. And I'm going to use zero discretion, Chris. Going to let you know that up front. But FFA, a lot of people think the FFA has made me who I am today. From that particular standpoint, being able to publicly speak to individuals, be able to advocate for agriculture, as well as support the industry and the opportunities and career paths that are there. However, with that said, I was one of the 4 Black individuals, African Americans, that was active in FFA in the state of Kentucky in the 80s. And when I say that, and I tell all my students in the role I am in as a USDA liaison, I tell all my students I use that to my advantage. From Pike County to Fulton, in the role of agriculture in the state of Kentucky right now, most individuals that are currently in leadership roles recognize me, my name, my existence through my roles in FFA. I can't remember all those people. It was 13,000 people in Kentucky FFA, but they remember Ed Thompson, one of the 4 Black guys they had to remember. And I use that to my advantage for the purpose of advocating for the cause of agricultural opportunities to all youth, specifically minority youth, making them aware that agriculture is more than picking cotton, hoeing out tobacco. It is science, technology, engineering, math, all rolled into one. In order to be successful in this role in agriculture, it requires a lot of background education and knowledge to market yourself personally into agricultural industry production, or even in my role as in public sector with government. I travel this state in my role as USDA liaison, trying to educate the public, working with the 1890 Extension Network at Kentucky State University. In the land grant program, we provide assistance to landowners and land users from a standpoint of management, production. Also, I try to reach out to the communities across Kentucky and target African American youth, letting them know that there are opportunities in agriculture. Everywhere you go, even when I was in school, everyone wanted to be in business management. That's a good field to be in, but so does everyone else. So it starts getting tight when you start looking for employment opportunities, employability in that particular field. So you can use that same skill set that you develop in business, management, economics in the field of agriculture. And I think Sylvester may have used this. It might have been you, Chris, but when you start looking at employability, there are more jobs in agriculture that come open each and every year that go unfilled because there is a lack of qualified, educated, and employable individuals. And I tell the youth that I work with all the time, employable means basically keep your nose clean, where you have no problem getting a job from a standpoint of being able to secure that particular job. There's a lot of individuals in that pool, but you've got to stand out and above all the rest in your particular field of study in order to obtain the employment. And you can pretty much write your own ticket. My role as an 1890 liaison with Kentucky State University is to advocate for agriculture. Again, student opportunities, try to introduce youth in urban and rural areas to the field of agriculture and agricultural opportunities. Little known fact across the state, and hopefully it will be common knowledge, that the United States Department of Agriculture has an 1890 scholarship, which allows individuals to attend a 1890 land grant university. Here in the state of Kentucky would be Kentucky State. In the state of Tennessee would be Tennessee State. So on and so forth. There's 19 different 1890 land grant universities. But the uniqueness of this particular scholarship allows students to be sponsored or picked up by one of the 17 USDA agencies, and they can begin their career opportunities while they are a student learning about agricultural sciences in college. And when they obtain their degree, they don't have to go looking for a job. There's a job that is waiting on them with the United States Department of Agriculture as they start to develop that skill set while they're studying agriculture to prepare for a career. So that's one of my major roles. And working with the individuals, groups, across the state, I work a lot with individuals that are in urban areas that are trying to do safe, community sourced foods. It's a number of individuals out there that are producing in their own backyards for sustainability. And as you mentioned earlier, with COVID, there is a lot of individuals that have become concerned about the availability of food. So it's important that we have a knowledge of propagation of plants for our own food production within our own communities, whether it's rural or urban. But everyone needs to know how to produce their own food as well as prepare.
I fully agree with that, and I think we're going to dive into that a little bit as well. So I think that's a perfect segue for us to kind of continue the conversation.
Yeah, and I think it's so I couldn't help but hear a bunch of like the history and education being so important to your journey into ag, and how you decided that ag was going to be your career and you're going to make an impact in this field. So I guess let's talk about how our role is to pass that information on and that knowledge to getting students in our communities in urban settings onto the next level and learning what the possibilities are for them in agriculture, and then moving into the role of the USDA and kind of companies in that segment.
Okay.
And on top of that too, and while Ed answered that question, Sylvester, I want you kind of thinking through, like, as you told me that how Ricky just mentioned of really educating kids, right? And so I'm looking at from your background, coming from sports and playing in football UK, and how that could leverage that into inspiring the next generation as well.
Okay. As far as my experiences with educating and bringing knowledge to youth about agriculture, agricultural careers and opportunities across this state in urban areas, as well as even in rural areas, and the numbers are fewer in rural areas, but individuals are just not aware of what agriculture is. Again, the stigma has been over the years when the minority community, if you look back at history where individuals left the South for the industrialized North, they look at agriculture as tied in or related to lack of knowledge, but to slavery. So, there is more to agriculture from a standpoint of the sciences and the technology, the global marketing. You're dealing with products that are marketed globally, there's the science and the technology. For instance, scientists need to know different things, such as how to combat childhood allergens? Is there a product that is an agricultural product that can be used as a substitute for things such as peanuts to battle those allergens? Looking at our food sources, our protein sources, things such as foods that are gluten-free. So, it takes in a lot of knowledge, a lot of many facets of science, technology to know that agriculture is more than just the production from the soil. But there's also, that is the biggest part of it, but also there's the marketing of that, the economies that are based on agriculture globally. If you look at a Super Bowl commercial, look at how many products in those over the span of the time Super Bowl's on TV, how many products that they are advertising that are agricultural related, from Doritos corn chips all the way to beer that's produced from small grains. So agriculture touches everyone's life. And I think Sylvester had made reference to this early on. Everyone on the face of this earth, especially humans, need to eat. I don't care if you're vegan or not. You're more dependent as a vegan on agriculture than you are someone such as myself, an omnivore, carnivore. So, it touches everyone. And where do I fit into this role? How can I put grasp on an opportunity in this particular field? If I want to say that, well, I don't use agricultural products, again, going back to your food, going back to your fiber, the clothes that you buy, even if you order a new car, leather seats come from a byproduct of agriculture. So does that fiber made for, some other form of textile covering on that seat. So people have to look at how agriculture affects them and what the opportunities are to get a piece of that pie when you start looking at career opportunities and keyword employability. Are there jobs that are going to basically offer you premiums for you to come on board, or are you just going to be another number in a particular role looking for a job opportunity? So, that provides a lot. To me, it provides a lot of opportunity to know that I'm a marketable product as an individual with knowledge and a degree in this particular area of science and technology. A lot of times we have people that earn that degree and they have people basically fighting over them because of their skills that they've developed as well as their knowledge. So that allows people in agriculture to be marketable. A lot of youth look at it as, no disrespect to sports, but they want to be a sports figure. And only so many people get to go to the NBA or NFL. So, you have to set above and beyond the next person with a certain skill set, where agriculture, you can pretty well write your own ticket and you are a commodity, a marketable commodity with your particular knowledge and background when you obtain that degree.
Yeah. And no, like you were saying, I was going to say, yeah, Sylvester, I know you can definitely speak to the athlete getting into agriculture and kind of that space. So you did kind of talk about how you would struggle to find space within a major that was going to allow for you to play football and go to school. And I kind of was in that same space. I walked onto the football team my freshman year, and they're telling me, like, I don't know if this engineering major is going to work out for too much longer past junior year. I'm like, well, I don't know if this football thing is going to work out too much longer past junior year. I mean, I guess luckily I got hurt first, and that kind of decided for me that engineering was going to be the thing that won. But kind of, can you talk kind of to that and how you, I guess, even left school and came back to chase that journey?
Yeah, so I mean that's very true. I mean, when you look at the College of Ag, as you see with a lot of majors and a lot of people that have struggled inside majors, I mean, engineering, pre-med, and all of those, sometimes you have a language barrier. I mean, I will say inside of college engineering, a lot of my teachers first starting off, first, second language wasn't English. So you had a little bit of challenge. I understand that. Then you go ahead and put that on top of the stress of being an athlete, your study habits and all those that do occur. And at the University of Kentucky, we do a great job. I want to say last time I heard, I think it's like positive over 50% of scholarship athletes at University of Kentucky are inside the College of Ag in some type of way, from Ag Econ to Ag Communications. I mean, let's think about Randall Cobb that came back and finished up his Ag Communications degree and everything. So, and then look at the number of NFL athletes that you've seen decide to retire early from playing sports at a professional level and start working inside agriculture. I forgot you got the one main lineman that was with the St. Louis Rams when they was in St. Louis that left. His name escapes me, and I apologize if he's actually listening to this, because he got a chance to come speak to us at the Manners National Conference. It was great getting a chance to hear his story about how he took his career inside playing professional sports, but then looked at agriculture, as a way to have longevity. All of us, when we look at that want to be a pro athlete, the pro athlete career on average is maybe 2 to 5 years. Once you come out of college, that's a lot of runway left to you getting to actual retirement age there. So what are you gonna do post sports? So go ahead and set yourself up. Be simple. Ed made some great comments there about the fact that inside agriculture, I mean, we're one of those majors that a lot of kids don't look at. So your competition for those jobs is lower. It's almost like when I tell my friends when they're trying to find a job right in the heart of Miami, I'm like, hey, you might want to look somewhere else and then try to make it to Miami. But it's like agriculture, when you look at our placement of jobs, I mean, we're not just in rural areas, we're inside rural cities like Des Moines, Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, if you look at a lot of the magazines that talk about top place for young professionals, a lot of those is where some top agricultural companies. I mean, Minneapolis with Cargill, General Mills. I mean, the list goes on and on. Land O'Lakes there inside Minneapolis. So, such as looking at a great placement and just thinking about agriculture, you're just not going to be stuck out in the middle of cornfields and soybean fields and cotton fields. Now, you may have to travel out there, but such as the point is, you don't have to be stuck out there. I mean, even in Indianapolis with Corteva here in Memphis, we Indigo, who I work for, is based out of Memphis. You got Helena that's here, Helena Chemical. So a lot of places that you can live at and have an ag degree. So I think that's also a lot of people think is when they get an ag degree, where can I actually live and work with that degree? And I think it's a lot of places for them to do there. Now, I know also the question was around what we're doing to get younger people in agriculture, help recruit them. I am a active member of Manners, Minorities in Ag, Natural Resource Related Sciences. USDA is actually one of our top sponsors, actually one of the ones that really helped get that organization off the ground. And now we have junior Manners. So when you look at Manners, and we're kind of focused those that are actually in college, helping build a community around those pursuing ag degrees or degrees in which could relate into agriculture. Junior Manners would be before college. So let's go ahead and get those kids pulled in a little bit younger time and have someone around them. As Ed touched on when he was in FFA, he was one of 4 people of color inside the state of Kentucky there. So we have quite a few FFA members that are people of color that are also members of our organization, just because now they get to be around more people that look like them, but also people that are trying to recruit people that look like them. So with those organizations, but also I'm active with FFA, AFA. Also, one of the main things I do is every time I get a chance to talk to a kid, either young in college, I'm talking about agriculture. I mean, when you look at agriculture, it's a lot different than a lot of other careers and majors that you can take. Ag is, as I touch on, it's not a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. I mean, you're working with farmers that they don't punch out and punch in the 8 to 5 o'clock, and a lot of people, when they look at things that I end up doing, I might get a phone call on a Saturday or Sunday because, it's a grower rolling inside the field and having some issues. Hey, we're going to address that. And I think when you look at ag, that's what it is. That's what it says. It's good people inside ag. So, that's something to really think about on that front. So, that's all I have to add to that one. But I mean, being an athlete and coming to agriculture, I think was just a great fit. ag is a very small community. Seems to be that you work more as a team than actual individual competitors. So I think when you think about us as athletes and those that are past athletes, it works pretty well that you have that competitive nature, but also that team aspect that comes in with our major.
Man, yeah, that's a really good information from both of you. I love the perspectives and the work that you're doing to add to that. You both touched on something like really the marketability, the opportunities for jobs and creation. So, but one of the things we really focus on here is like really entrepreneurship. And so, if we look at small and urban farmers, right, and doing urban ag already, and maybe have their own companies, I think we're always looking at the challenges of, how do they play in with big ag? How do they play in with distribution? The supply chain you mentioned as well.
Yeah. And, so the pandemic really kind of opened our eyes to the issues that we have within our supply chain, especially kind of with our big box stores and how we have these bottlenecks in places. So I guess, can you all kind of talk about a little bit of those issues that you saw over the pandemic with, the supply chain, with small businesses, big businesses, restaurants, just the whole kind of deal, and how can urban farms be a solution and help fix our kind of food system?
I'm going to go ahead and let Ed jump on this one first. I know that USDA has really homed in on this whole urban agriculture piece, so I'm going to let him speak, and then I'm going to go ahead and jump in with some things I see from Big Ag, but also my personal aspects of this one. Sorry, I had to put you on the spot.
No problem. From what I've experienced during the early days of the pandemic, where people were beginning to panic, there wasn't any chicken, there wasn't any bread on the shelves and things of that nature. And even all the way today, I went to BW3's a couple of weeks ago, and they told me I had to get boneless wings. And I'm like, well, I like mine with a bone in it, traditional.
Yeah,
so,
man, that's me too.
I'm still trying to figure out how you get boneless wings, and they're abundant, but the actual wing is a shortage. But a long story short, here, when people start panic buying, going back to the supply chain, they take for granted American agriculture. And when we look at even our large corporate producing farms, we've always had food availability in the United States. Did you know where that food came from? Probably not exactly. Okay. Whether it was produced in New Mexico or Minnesota and shipped to your, store in Kentucky. But I think over the last several years, the trend has been that a lot of individuals have moved back to the rural areas from urban lifestyles where they may have made retirement or whatever. And in their glory days, they want to, revive their family farms and things of that nature. But, being able to know where your food is produced, how it's produced, and where you can produce it and feed your neighborhood and or people in your neighborhood that may not be, up to par as far as producing it, but they are willing to pay a premium for locally sourced foods. USDA has some opportunities with some grants with urban agriculture that primarily have worked with institutions and entities as far as being able to provide opportunities and education in producing fresh whole foods. I know here locally in the state of Kentucky, we have individuals from producing in high tunnel production, as well as pastured poultry, even into some areas in Lexington. And I'm not as familiar in Louisville, Kentucky, but Lexington and surrounding, we have people that are producing eggs and such in their own backyard. A lot of urban planning and zoning will allow you to have a certain amount of poultry, as long as they're not roosters crowing at 5 o'clock in the morning. But the roosters don't lay the eggs. Remember that one. But people are producing eggs and such, And people love to know where their food is coming from, seeing the animal that's producing their food, and they're willing to pay a premium. And then the fact that more people are more concerned, and no disrespect to big agriculture. Again, I have a degree in agronomy, so dealing with corn, soybean, and wheat production on a large scale. They're afraid of herbicides and insecticides and things of that nature that may enter into the food chain. So there's a tremendous opportunity for individuals to learn how to produce, and maybe even that entrepreneurship of marketing. In the central Kentucky area, Chris and I discussed this several weeks ago. There's an organization called Black Soil that is working with landowners across Kentucky, small scale producers, giving them an opportunity and a platform to market their goods, whether it's poultry, pork, eggs falls into that category, fresh grown produce and such. But as you know, here in Kentucky, we are limited by our growing season. So trying to get those individuals to network together, where if you have a person producing a certain product and they're in South Central Kentucky, how they can work with marketing that product to, Metro Louisville area, or even as far as going into the Nashville area. I know there's people along that I-65 corridor that are producing, and they're doing what they call CSAs, community supported agriculture. They are putting together, if I raise sweet potatoes and Chris raises onions, and so Sylvester produces poultry, putting together those boxes and marketing those in communities where these individuals buy into that food source, and it is marketed to different individuals that are willing to participate, to have that availability of fresh, whole foods. So we are working. We're working with USDA, with institutions such as Kentucky State, University of Kentucky. There are and what they call an urban agricultural program in Russellville, Kentucky. Dr. Nancy Dawson is heading that up. They're working with at-risk youth, but they're producing agricultural products in high tunnels as well as abandoned lots within that Russellville area. And those students are putting together marketing plans, and participating in the farmers markets in those particular areas, as well as getting those products on the shelves in some local stores in that particular area.
Yeah, and starting at a young age, teaching that community, teaching that skill sets, what I mean? Like, those are the things that we talk about on a regular basis about early on, like entrepreneurship is taught in any sector at an early age, right? And giving kids that exposure, not only to agriculture, but also those skills and in business, marketing, sales, etc. at that stage is so vital.
Yeah. Like you said, the public speaking piece.
And that opens these students' eyes also on the production end of it, but agriculture as a business, looking at the numbers, the profitability out of it. If I can raise 13,000 pounds of sweet potatoes on a third of an acre, imagine what I can do on a full acre, things of that nature. Now, one thing we left out of this, as far as agriculture goes, an individual has to have that desire to succeed. Again, this is not I use zero discretion, Chris. This is not an industry for individuals that have no work ethic. This is not an industry for individuals that are slothful and wanting to benefit from others. You have to put a lot into this particular field of agriculture, whether it's producing local products, or if it's in agricultural industry, or, you know, even in government, reaching out to find those opportunities. So when we say that, that allows these students to see different sectors of agriculture. When it goes to marketing, I think Sylvester had mentioned communications with people such as Randall Cobb. I did not know that Randall Cobb was an ag major. I used to be a Randall Cobb fan when he was with the Packers. Cowboys.
Yeah, I was a Green Bay Packers fan. It's you know, I think that's so integral, because I mean, you're completely right. I mean, you're talking about founders and running your own business. You know, it's a lot of hard work, right? Work ethic, mindset is at the key point of that. You know, Sylvester, I want to hear from you, because, you know, this seeing your background, you're super highly motivated in what you're doing in your career path as well, but also coming from a different lens. I know you say you had some personal feelings, and also you've been involved in a lot bigger companies over your career, which is incredible. So I would just love to see hear from some of your insights from a different side of it. And personally, like your thoughts as we have, you know, we look at technology now tying into agriculture, and potentially a whole new subset of ideas coming through there, and founders really launching companies within the agriculture space and making it cool. We would love to hear some, like, your perspective on some of those topics.
Yep, sounds great. Well, you gave me a lot to unpack there, but I think one of the main things that you said about being an entrepreneur and looking at this inside ag, we always joke around and said entrepreneur will complain about doing 40 hours for someone else, but has no problem doing 120 hours a week for themselves. You know, and right. That's true. I mean, I see a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't have that work ethic that they're willing to put in those amount of hours there. I mean, nothing comes easy. Just like one of the main things that attracted me coming to Indigo, we're a startup. You know, we're a young company, and now I get to be entrepreneurial. So, you know, I think that's one thing to look at, and people can research the words. The difference between being an entrepreneur and entrepreneurial is that you can bring your entrepreneurial spirit to a company and help shape and mold a company. But guess what? You get to play with someone else's money.
There you go.
Yeah. The make or break doesn't happen there. I know we was talking about, and I'll circle back around. If I get off subject, just rub me back in. But I know we was talking about the supply chain of what we started during COVID. I guess I want to say our supply chain was stressed. It didn't break. I think when you look at us here inside the U.S., we have a great food supply. Here. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are from a food supply standpoint, but I think some numbers like 40% of what we see inside a grocery store would not get eaten. Not that that's great for the supply chain and for us talking about waste, but that just shows that we have a lot of different, we move away from just staples. When you look at other countries, they're fruits, vegetables, and meats. We've developed the ability to be able to market that. Do you want organic? Do you want natural? Do you want 20 different types of breads? I kind of joke around when you used to walk into an old grocery store, and one of my favorites there inside Iowa's Fairway, they just got a little bread section. Very simple. You go to a Walmart, you got a whole aisle of bread. So I think the thing that we need to look at when COVID hit, it wasn't the fact that we didn't have food availability. We had food there. It might not have been what you wanted. So this is when we look at the difference between needs and wants. We had the food that you needed. It might not just been what you want. So even from the different cuts, as Ed touched on, he was in Buffalo Wild Wings, and he wants bone-in wings. We don't want boneless wings. So I mean, when you look at the U.S., we have that ability to want those type of things, and we expect it all the time inside our food chain. And I think that's what COVID had. Then, like you said, is that you had a lot of places in which you just had mass people going and buy. I mean, Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, the number goes on and on, a big box stores that you had a huge population hitting at once to take everything that was there, what they felt they needed and wanted, because they was worried about scarcity there. So, I mean, you had the pressure there. And I mean, such as shipping lanes and everything else. We can only manufacture and ship so much. But like I said, I think it was a little bit different between needs and wants there. But I think also what we had there was, it depends where you was looking for food. I would say those that knew about small mom and pops, meat lockers, and farmers markets, and everywhere else, the supply was there. It's just the ability to be able to get there. I think that's what also shined a lot of light to the general public of these other areas in which they can actually get their food that's not just home foods, home delivery, Instacart, and all those type of things going on, but some other areas in which we know that we're able to help supply food that from overall was looked to be a very niche market or very local or very locally grown, locally sourced product. But like I said, the ability to be able to go outside your norm of not going to a Kroger's, Walmart, and find some of those places. I know some of my friends that are in that type of market, saw a big, huge demand go up. One of my friends that has a meat locker say, he's usually working on, a couple of weeks out on actually his meat market, but pushed out stuff month, 2 months to be able to get in just because demand was driven there. So I think when we look at COVID-19, I think we just need to look at, we had a stress to our food supply chain, but it wasn't broken for I don't think anyone that, had the ability to be able to purchase food starved to death, but we do know that we do have some issues just overall as we talk about agriculture. When we talk about kids going to bed hungry or food access, and that'd be a whole different topic, a whole different subject to actually cover when we talk about food access and food deserts and those type of things. But I think overall, if you looked at it, if you was willing to search and had the ability to go search, then was there. The person that lives inside the inner city of Chicago probably doesn't have the chance to drive out to Joliet to the farmers market. But I do know, just like Des Moines, Iowa, a lot of inner cities are starting to develop farmer markets for those that growing out rural or even urban ag farmers to be able to bring their produce, their products there to be able to sell more to the masses. I think that what leads us into discussion of how does urban agriculture play a role. I think as Ed touched on, you got the marketing piece and all those and the hard work of getting your product developed, but how do you find the sales channels? If you're looking for, large companies are going to want that true demand, that true understanding that supply chain, be able to feed their needs ongoing. So if you're an urban ag farmer, you're growing a small allotment of produce, I think you need to go ahead and look locally. I do know now Whole Foods and some other companies are trying to look at that local piece and trying to, kind of set up as they got the organic section, the sub market of, hey, this is local here. So I think it is some opportunities there, just the ability to be able to find them and be able to find where they are and then be able to market yourself to that company or store that you're able to, supply products and what those array of products would be. But we surely know that local is pushing just as hard as it was when we say we have now the big organic boom. I know it was another part of your question that you had out there, but I've already forgotten it. What else did you want me to touch on? Oh, it was about big agriculture's play inside urban agriculture. First, a lot of companies in which I worked at, my career has been with Syngenta, Novozymes, Monsanto, Bayer, now with Indigo. They're all trying to figure out a way, how do we actually meet the need of that even smaller shareholder farmer? When you talk about small shareholder farmers, we're usually saying someone that's less than 1,000 acres. Now we're talking about someone that's less than an acre, or that we could be working with if you're talking about that piece, but surely that minimal acre size. And a lot of research hasn't been done at the university level. If you look at any of the big ag companies, we pretty much follow what is the overall demand and research that's going on inside agriculture there. But we're trying to find a ways to be able to produce our products and smaller amount size so they can be used at that local level. So I think right now what you have is a lot of research going on and understanding what is being grown in urban ag, because it's an array of crops. But I think when you look at big ag and all the development that we've done around seed treatments and things that can be used for organic production, you're just going to have to do some research and figure out what products are out there for you. But it's plenty of companies just like myself. We kind of hang our hats on corn, soybeans, wheat. We get surely into rice and cotton. But surely as you look at some of those other fruits and veg, how can we look at beneficial biologicals to be able to help meet the need, as that urban ag seems to be really focused on not the use of hard or synthetic chemistries, but a little bit more natural occurring compounds there. And then when you touched on technologies, I think as you look at anything technology-wise that's coming out, from drones to, I mean, when iPads first hit, I mean, all of us are driving hard to be able to take that technology and bring it into agriculture. I will say probably the biggest positive that urban ag farmers will have is access to Wi-Fi internet. We say that's the biggest issue that we have with introduction technology into rural America, is that we do have a issue with the bandwidth that we have with internet. Now, there's a lot of initiatives, the USDA and at the national level, but even at the local level, how do we get internet out to these rural areas? And a lot of people are working hard to make that happen. But, you know, with the use of iPads, iPhones, I mean, it's a lot of technology that, as we look in different industries that we're trying to bring forward, from the use of robotics to be able to help with picking of fruits and vegetables, as we also look at a strain to the people power that we need for those crops that do take a lot of human power to actually produce, but also, you know, the ability to be able to meet those needs. So I think when you look overall, agriculture is always trying to stay on the next cusp of, hey, that's a great technology over there. How can we actually bring it over to ours? But I think also that does open up the ability for entrepreneurs that are willing to look at different technologies themselves and develop them and try to find a place inside agriculture. But you never know what what's going on inside a garage in the inner city or rural area, that some great technology or app is coming out that might get snatched up by a large agricultural company. I mean, the list goes on and on. When you look at Climate Corp that was acquired by Monsanto, then by Bayer with the acquisition of Monsanto. I mean, that was a startup that grew, that was focused on agriculture. And then next you get the big payout there. So, you know, as anyone that's on here as an entrepreneur that's developing new products or technology or app, you know, maybe look at it from a different lens of, you know, could this actually fit inside ag? And, you know, is that a market in which you could play in?
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about technology and things of that nature, but I think the big question, I guess, for like small farms versus big farms is, how do we level that playing field? You know, you got big farms, big ag out here, years and years ahead, millions of dollars ahead on technology. And we speak about robotics and things of that nature. And I think that this is where the USDA Build Back Better plan comes in and makes the rubber meet the road. Is how do we actually use this money to support smaller farms to make their operations more efficient, especially with our aging farmer population. Yeah. And we have these younger farmers coming in, and we talked about work ethic. And I think like a lot of our younger guys are, okay, let's work smarter, not harder. So how do they use technology to get this job done when you don't have as many people available to work these jobs? And how do we support that community in building these more efficient systems? I guess they're going to have to be grown smaller in these urban settings before they even are able to become large and big ag operations. So how do we support that with this USDA kind of funds? And then how does big ag kind of support that small growth of these organic technology focused operations?
Well, I'll jump in. I don't know if we're going over time, but like we got 7 minutes to unpack that. That's a lot to unpack there. I think when you look at it inside big ag, and I hate to always use the word big ag, so but we're going to use it for this one. I think we're all working on how do we actually, as those large farmers and everyone takes hand of that technology, and now you're recouping your investment. Now you're able to bring down the price of that product and now able to bring it to someone that is small acres. I mean, when you look at large farmers, everything is looked at, you know, by acre that they're actually farming, or how many bushels they can actually increase or grow from the use of that technology. So, I mean, when you look at a smaller farmer, it probably is a lot of apps out there. I know it is some people that do look at technology and some older technology even help build themselves. I think when you really look at urban agricultural farmers, you're going to be a little bit creative. There is a lot of equipment and technology that, large farmers say, hey, we're done with that. We're moving past that piece, but it might be a chance to catch that on the secondary market, be able to tool it down to be able to meet your needs there. So I think that's a way to really look at, what's going on at big ag and be able to bring it back down to urban agriculture. It's kind of looking at, the ability to be able to get that technology second and third hand to be able to use out there on your acres and help decrease the price per acre on that products.
One thing that I see for small farmers to become competitive, it's not about, for them, it's not about how many bushel or how many acres or pounds, but using that technology. If you're going to do plant production, vegetable production, tomatoes, for instance, they can vertically produce those containers in smaller spaces and high tunnels versus, a field production. You've got things you can control, such as availability of moisture through irrigation and such. But when you start looking at the small farmers being competitive from a profitability standpoint, it's all based on quality. Individuals, when you throw the term out, organic and such, they're willing to pay a premium for a product, again, that they know that is free of herbicides, free of pesticides and such. They're paying for quality, knowing where that food is grown. If you can, there's a lady here in the Lexington area, they do what they call herd shares, and you get to own a piece of that cow that she's selling raw milk out of. So, those individuals look at it as, even though I may live in an apartment or something of that nature, but I have invested into my food source from this particular lady. So they're willing to pay a premium. Same thing with pastured poultry in different sectors where, I'll go to the chain stores like Walmart or Kroger, and they told me to use the word frugal. I'm frugal when I go to that meat counter, but I'm not going to pay $10 for a chicken. But I will buy me some 99-cent legs if I think that's a bargain. But it goes back to quality, what individuals are willing to pay for to get that quality, to put that meal on the table. And to me, I think that's where we can help through science and technology and extension, and educating individuals on what it takes to produce a quality product and how you can ask and or demand a premium for that product, because it is fresh whole food and it has a certain quality of taste that individuals are willing to put out a little bit more disposable income to have that product. Again, you can be just as profitable with quality products on a small amount of acreage, and produce those and market those, going back to who you're marketing it to. From a technology standpoint, your yields, you're going to have to look at the varieties that are going to produce X amount of bushels or pounds of tomatoes. If once you know what your potential market is, are you going to feed half the city or half of your city block? So, that goes back into your production. You don't want to get into that law of diminishing return where you put a lot of dollars into it, but not have the return to sustain that business.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm thinking like the quality to the marketing to this, and really like trying to tie the connection piece for those smaller farmers who are producing the quality, right? Mm-hmm. But understanding who they're marketing to, how they can be profitable. Also, the distribution of that, I think, is a piece that that's going to require some more collaboration in that area. But I think those are the things that we see. The distribution of that product is the thing that we're trying to tie the pieces together.
And I think that's where, like, both of you are saying is where the rubber meets the road. Is you have that individual that's willing to pay that premium over there for that locally grown product, which will be probably your urban product where you have that small farm that's willing, that can pay more attention to each individual piece that they're growing. And then you have your large, our big ag that we're talking about over here that's using the technology to grow this the most efficient way possible, so that the quickest, so that we can sell this at the right price, so that we can feed the most people.
Yep.
So I think that that's where both of those exist, and we have to support each one of those models in each one of those communities, because there are different people that want that with different wants and needs. Like Sylvester talked about all the way at the beginning, our wants and needs. We can support those people with those high premium wants and needs, while still supporting those people with quality food that need to support the frugality of buying food. Like, we said.
And I know it's an hour, and I think there's a lot of crossover there. And Sylvester mentioned this earlier, like, I think I enjoy having these kind of conversations on the education piece, because he mentioned that there wasn't, look at the food supply. It was a lack of knowledge for where to find the quality food, or find where the food or where the food is at, right?
Yep.
And that's supporting the local smaller farmers that we're mentioning. There's a huge opportunity there for that, and hopefully we can pair some technology and help those companies grow, scale, and succeed.
Yeah, and I think that'll be kind of what we talk about in our next kind of segment in the series, is how technology will affect urban ag and our growing kind of urban ag system and local food systems.
Hey, well, we appreciate both the time, of you all's time today. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. As we close out, I'll kick it to each of you just to say, hey, if there's any way we can, if those listening today can keep in contact with you or connect with you offline, I'll give you the space to share that information now.
I'll go first on that one. Again, I work with USDA through the cooperative extension programs, land grant universities. So if there's anyone listening that is interested in more information of what USDA has to offer, such as even the possibility to do a startup with a small scale urban agriculture operation, I will give out my email address. Is probably the best right now, but it's real simple. It's ed.thompson@usda.gov. And I typically, within a half a day, depends on what I'm doing, will respond back to you and give you some information, as well as my phone number, where we can have a more detailed and intimate conversation about what individuals are looking for, desiring, and where to get that information, and pretty much try to walk them through the process.
All right, thank you, Ed.
Yep, and when it comes to me, I'm Sylvester Miller, Senior Strategic Account Manager at Indigo Ag, leading our biological business. You can catch me on LinkedIn as Sylvester Miller, the dash or 2 I's the second. Or you can also reach me also by my email, which is S as in Sam Miller at indigoag.com. So smiller@indigoag.com. And I know we're kind of just wrapping up. There's just some things that kind of just jumped in my mind as just some of that low hanging fruit when we kind of think about things, such as placement. I know we didn't talk about it, but you're starting to have a lot of these farm to table restaurants that's opening up. If I'm urban ag guy, that's another great place to look at. We surely touched on a lot of the farmers market, find out where those are getting in. A lot of them are actually sponsored by big ag companies. Actually, right down the street from me, Nutrien actually sponsors the farmers market here inside my local area. But I know a lot of companies there, and a lot of those actually sponsoring farmers markets, or even the city themselves. And then last is surely looking at the ability to be able to source used equipment and be able to retool it down to what you need inside your area. And jump online. I know it is a couple of small startups that actually are developing software and ability for small urban agricultures. Christy, well, I'll try to share some of the information that I have from those, but also go to some of those ag shows that are there locally, because that's also another chance to connect locally with some of the vendors and find some of the other startups inside agriculture that may be able to meet your needs.
I love that. I'll make sure to follow up with both of you to get those resources and make sure that we share it out to the community. I mean, we can go on forever with these conversations, but I think those are some great tools and resources that y'all shared today. And, we thoroughly appreciate everyone joining and being part of this conversation.
Yeah, definitely, man. Thank y'all. And we got to do it again.
Sounds great. You all have a great rest of the day.
All right. Likewise. Peace.
Thank you.